Welcome to the Dental Success Blueprint and the Team Building Module. This is Dr. Phil Nall, and I'm going to be your host presenter here for our program. Let me start by saying this. I have spent more hours and devoted more energy to team building than I have any other aspect of my practice. I think it's one of the most difficult issues we face, and it is so important. In fact, at Dental Success Blueprint, we feel that it is so important that it's one of the main modules of our success program. It is a key issue. Now, with all the hours I spent on team building, we did not come together as a team until we did this little exercise, which I'm going to share with you here in a few minutes. Over the years, I've done over 1,000 seminars, so I've spoken to tens of thousands of dentists. And the number one issue that dentists will complain about is team. If you think about it from a different aspect here, is there any doubt as to why that's the most frustrated issue we face? On a dental staff, there's typically 3 to 8 members. So it's small enough to be family. I mean, when Susie's grandmother dies, we shut the office down and we all go to the funeral. It's family. We share our successes, we share our frustrations, we share our lives with each other. It's family. And yet, it's the largest expense that we have. I mean, 1/4 to 1/3 of all the revenue goes to the team. Now hear that, 1/3 to 1/4 of all the revenue we generate goes to pay team. So it is the largest expense that we have, and yet it's like a family. There's a dichotomy there that's not very healthy. Usually team members have a varied background. I mean, the ages will vary in the dental practice from the 20s for the team to the 60s. And the experience ranges from decades of experience to a trainee. So here you have a 35-year dental veteran, and you've got a trainee that's had maybe 6 months. They will frequently collide and butt heads because they won't see things the exact same way. The trainee thinks that the older lady is trying to control her, tell her what to do, and the mature woman feels the trainee is a threat to her, more energy, more liveliness. So team members have a varied background. Team members have different goals. You may have team members that are saving for retirement or they're close to retirement age. You'll have some that are saving for that first house or for a new car. You'll have some that are the income providers. So the team members have different goals or different objectives in being in the practice. Team members have different personalities. You'll have some that are reserved, some that are outgoing, some that are shy, some that are loud. Varying personalities, and they have to meld together. So how will we get these different personalities aligned together? Again, they're wide and they're varied in their divergence in their personalities, and yet we have to get them aligned behind a single goal or single objective. So how can I get them to see my vision? These were my questions. How can I get them to see the vision? How can I get them to understand my objections and not just think I'm quirky? And they did. They would see me do things that they made them think I was quirky. For example, one of my pet peeves is an overhead light in patients' eyes. If I walked by an operatory and I saw an overhead light in their eyes, I would go in and immediately remove it from their eyes because it's something I really didn't like. Team saw that in me as being quirky. But when they understand my vision, they'll understand why that was so important to me. We'll share that in a second. So 2 things happened that showed me how far off we were. One, I had a staff member say that if not for the discounted dentistry we offered the staff, she would have to go somewhere less expensive. Now get this, here's a staff member saying that if it wasn't for the discounts, they'd have to go to a less expensive office. And this was the person I had presenting cases to patients. I wonder what she was saying to them. and I overheard staff members trying to explain to a patient why our crown fee was higher than the TV advertising office down the street. For example, let's just say for simplistic sake our crown fee is $1,000 and the advertising office on TV down the road is $750. Well, she would tell the patient that the difference for the $250 was we used a better porcelain and gold. Now, was that really the difference? I knew I had to make big changes. I had to reconnect with my vision, I had to convey it to the team, and I had to make sure they were behind it enthusiastically. I don't want them just behind it, I want them enthusiastically behind it. I had said in the past that I wanted us to treat patients like a fine dining restaurant. But it hit me. Most of the team had rarely or never fine dined. So how could I expect a detailed understanding of fine dining if they had rarely, if ever, been there? Following is an exercise I would strongly recommend if you want to get your team with a graphic understanding of your vision and why all the little things make a difference. First, let me ask you, do you have a vision for your practice? Now, we did this in vision mapping. And let me reiterate here again, doctor, you've got to have a vision for your practice. If not, what's your objective? What's your target? What are you shooting for? What you're shooting for is your vision. And how can we expect team to get aligned behind something if we don't have one? You must have one, if for nothing else, and to have a target line for the team up behind. If you don't have one, do a brief one now. And I frequently will use restaurants as a comparison. Compare myself to what restaurant would I like to be. Would I like to be McDonald's, where I've got a lot of people, fast service, but I've got to self-serve myself. Don't want an Applebee's, which is kind of middle of the road, where we do everything from every procedure out there, to a fine dining experience where we're more localized and more focused. My vision was a cosmetic restorative boutique where I saw 8 to 10 people per day, like a fine dining experience. The exercise we did was this. The team and I went to lunch 3 Wednesdays in a row and had a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke. That was mandatory. I've got no vegetarians in the practice. We had to have a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke. The first week we went to McDonald's. And what we noticed there was this. There's lots of customers. With self-service, you had to walk up and service yourself. There was kind of a greasy aroma to the place, but it was fast, it was inexpensive, and it was popular. The second week we went to a TGI Fridays, where we had a hostess who seated us, so we got table service, but it was loud. We couldn't carry on a nice conversation, it was too loud. The server wore a t-shirt. We did get free refills on soda. The chairs were uncomfortable for a reason. They don't want you sitting there very long. They want you eating your meal, getting up and clearing the table off so they can get another customer in there. But Fridays was still moderately inexpensive. The third week, we went to a restaurant called Rico's, where the hostess greeted us by name. Even though she did not know who we were, she said, "Oh, you must be Dr. Null." They knew they had a reservation at noon. Here comes a strange face. It must, in scrubs, it must be Dr. Null. How brilliant is that? So they greeted us by name. There was live piano music and a waterfall in the background. It was soothing. The server was dressed, meaning he was actually in a tux. They placed the napkins on the lap, and it was moderately expensive. So that was Rico's. The fourth week, we had a staff meeting, and we talked about it. All 3 meals were the same. We had a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke. We had the same ingredients, about a half a pound of ground beef, 2 pieces of bread, potatoes dipped in oil, a Coke with some ice. The exact same ingredients, exact same golden porcelain. That's not a difference. But why was one Why was one $3 and one $15? Why was one 5 times more than the other, even though it was exactly the same thing, the same ingredients? Well, it was the experience. At Rico's, which was my vision example, we were constantly attended to. We were made to feel wanted. Our comfort was their mission. There was no policies. It was all about us. And this is how I wanted our patients attended to. Because remember, my vision was to have a restorative boutique like a Rico's. So I wanted us to do the things the Rico's did, which again were the constant attention, made to feel wanted, comfort, no policies. It's how I wanted our patients attended. It was all the customer experience that mattered. My team finally got it. The little things that separate us from the pack. Greeting the patient by name. For example, I told my front desk person, it's 1 o'clock. You've got a 1 o'clock appointment with a new patient male. A strange male face walks in the door at 5 to 1. I want you saying, you must be Chuck Smith. If it's not, so what? But chances are 90% it is Chuck Smith. And he will be impressed that you knew his name before he even told it to you. So I want our patients greeted by name. I wanted warm, moist towels on everyone. No overhead light in patients' eyes. I told you that was my pet peeve. Don't leave the patient alone in an operatory if at all possible. And let's be on time all the time. These are just some of the little things that separate us from the pack. Customer service experience matters no matter what. Your desired practice may be more like a McDonald's or a Fridays. It doesn't matter. If so, hone in on other things. You could hone in on being more efficient, because the patrons at those restaurants like to be in and out. You can work on costs, work on how you could reduce your overhead so you could charge a lesser fee. You can work on the number of clients. In that kind of practice, you need a lot of them. You need a broad menu. You want to maybe expand some of the services you provide. Maybe you have multiple locations with your office. So it's not about you're supposed to have a practice like Rico's. You pick the one that you want. And if so, hone in on some of the other things. As an exercise, we had each staff person bring 3 ideas to the next meeting. Little things we could do more to be like Rico's. We got several great ideas, but more importantly, the staff loved it and had a whole new level of enthusiasm, in part because they knew what we were aiming for. They saw the vision. They saw what I wanted. They became a team. Now, there are dozens of programs out there to delve into the personalities we have in our practices and how they interact. While there's value in knowing this, we found this previous exercise to be very simple and instrumental in uniting the team and getting them enthusiastically behind my vision. And doctor, remember, it's your vision and needs to be created by you and only you. This is not a team decision. This is a doctor decision. Thank you, and I hope this helped.